Welcome to Week 11 Boom Bust Fantasy Football, brought to you by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Yeah, you heard me right. It's Week 11. Week 11. All right. Joined by Kyle and the Professor. Professor, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Corey?
Oh, can't really complain. I mean, I could. If you saw how my fantasy teams were performing, you could understand me complaining quite a bit. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel a little out of whack, though, with us being in a different order on the screen than we usually are.
Oh, you're right.
Corey's usually our power bottom here, and for some reason tonight it's all...
There we go. Let's get us back in our mojo here.
He was trying to throw us off our game, you know.
But because of that, we're going with the Professor first tonight with his first player for the Booms and Busts for Week 11. Tony, who do you want to talk about first?
I'm going to give you my first boom of the week, and guy, maybe people thought it could have been a little bit of a mirage, but I think we're starting to see the resurgence of Mr. Calvin Ridley with the Tennessee Titans. He is really kind of coming into his own now in this offense. I think certainly he has been leading the team each week in targets. He's been a consistent threat now in this passing game, going up against a Viking secondary that is very, very, very susceptible to the pass. They're kind of giving up the second most points to fantasy wide receivers this season. So I like Calvin Ridley to continue this run that he's on. Love him this week as a boom receiver.
Yeah, I agree. Resurgence is the right word for it, right? And it doesn't seem to matter who's at quarterback, but this resurgence kind of started once Hopkins was shipped out of town, and all of a sudden Ridley is the man there. So I like him going forward. I like his schedule going forward too, but this week is a big one, and I'm loving it. So good call on that. Alrighty, we're going to go with Kyle. Who's first player you want to start with?
I'm going to hit you off with a bust first, and I know he's been the fantasy football community darling this year, so this breaks your heart, but Brian Thomas Jr. against Detroit is, one, it's not a great matchup, but two, they're still going to have Mac Jones at quarterback, and that stings. So it literally is just those two things. I'm not starting Brian Thomas Jr.
Honestly, I have nothing else to add to that. Mac Jones at quarterback is – you had me Mac Jones.
That's all you need to know, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll let you go ahead and move to your next player. I can't add any more expertise to that.
Not that you would anyways, probably.
Fair enough.
No, I'm going to hit you with a boom now. And it's actually Mr. Nick Chubb playing at New Orleans. He's been a little rusty coming back off that injury, but he's also had some really tough matchups. And now they get a New Orleans team that's been very, very easy, very soft against the run. And so he's been getting the carries, though. He's had 15-plus touches in the last couple of games. I think this could be the game where he kind of gets on track and gets rolling through the rest of the year.
So that's interesting. He hasn't been very productive with those carries, but the volume is there. Like you said, some tough matchups. Last I had heard, the professor had told me that Chubb's career was over. And so he's been telling me that all year, trying to sell me other players in trades.
Must have been trying to trade him to you.
100%. Now, I know you said to get his season going forward here. Now, he does have a couple matchups against Pittsburgh, and he's got one against Kansas City and stuff for the rest of the season. So, but
if he has a really good game, it could also help boost his confidence with those touches too. We've seen these tough matchups, people can still run on him a little bit. So
it can also boost his trade value. So Professor, I'll be hitting you up for that. Once he has a big game here, I will trade him to you. So
and that's the thing, like he's a boom for this week, right? He's not a buy on Wall Street. He's a boom for this week. Yeah, he's going to have tough matchups. He's not going to be an automatic just RB1 or 2 or whatever going forward. He's going to be a matchup-based guy. But in the easy ones, I think you'll be able to rely on him. to take advantage of those.
Liking him against Nollins. All right, Professor, back to you. Who's your next guy?
A couple quick things before I get to my next player.
You're not just going to sit there and take that from us?
First off, I'm happy that I'm wrong about Nick Chubb. I was not trying to sell him. That had nothing to do with my opinion.
No, you're trying to sell me Jerome Ford high. That's what you were doing.
Although, let me clarify, I was trying to move Jerome Ford. That is true. Second thing is, I know I'm the professor, but I have a very, very rational explanation, non-scientific explanation as to why Brian Thomas is now tanking. And that's simply because I traded for him 2 weeks ago. So
that's pretty scientific, if you ask me, though.
So once that happened, of course, he was doomed to suffer the consequences of the injury to Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones behind center. It's only because I traded for him in one of my redraft leagues that happened. So
the curse is real.
Sorry to all of you Brian Thomas owners.
I feel like we should create a PSA show for people that we're just reporting. Here's the players I traded for this week. Sell them if you got them because they'll start tanking now.
It's like that app that you can download to see to track Nancy Pelosi's stock market moves. It's kind of the same thing. You can track our buy, sells, trades, waiver wire pickups so that you know who not to roster.
That's
same
funny.
sort of deal there.
Exactly.
All righty, Professor. Who's your next player?
I'd like to see the chart that has Brian Thomas pre-Tony trade, post trade.
Exactly.
My second boom player for the week is a guy that I'm in love with this guy. I've been all over him all season. He's been on one of my buy lists, a couple of them actually on the season, and that's Devon Achane. He's probably got one of the, if not the best matchup this week against the Vegas Raiders, who have been just absolutely horrendous against the run. I expect this running game to really kind of get on track, and Devon Achane's going to have a blow-up game this week.
The dude's a stud. My goodness. And
I mean, if you're in play DFS, this is a guy that I've got to get into my DFS lineups this week. I feel like he's a guy you got to own this week.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a player that when he doesn't score a touchdown, he's still getting double-digit fantasy points for you, and that's rare for a lot of players. I mean, and then the matchup is fantastic. So, yeah, get Achane out there. I love that too. So, alrighty. Let's see. I lost count, but I think I'm supposed to go with the professor again to see who he's got. So, who you got on your plate there, Professor?
Yeah, I'm going to be giving you another running back this time, of course, on my bus list, and that is Mr. Chase Brown. I'm a little bit concerned this week. You got kind of Zach Moss may be coming back. Looks like he's going to be active in week 11. And secondly, going up against probably one of the best run defenses in the league with the LA Chargers. And they're playing at the Chargers, which, of course, is an even more difficult matchup. So for me, Chase Brown, got him on my bus list of the week.
All right, I'm going to challenge you a little bit here, and it's just me playing devil's advocate. But last week, going up against Baltimore, and they just threw to him a lot. He had 11 targets, 9 catches, and racked up a ton of points. Do you see that as being a possibility this week, too, of just dump-off passes, and they just pass to him, racking up those points? What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure. I do think that's certainly it's a possibility. I don't know that. I think that's more of an outlier. I don't know that that's the norm, and we're going to see him not involved in the passing game on a weekly basis. Probably something just with matchups last week against that Baltimore defense. This week, what I can tell you is that the Chargers are a brutal matchup for opposing running backs. That, along with the return of Zach Moss, has me concerned about him. And let's remember that these boom and bust. I'm not necessarily telling you that he's going to have negative yardage and post 1.5 points, but I do think he's going to underperform.
Yep. Awesome. I just know that's a question that's going to be in people's minds because that was kind of an outlier. 11 targets is high. That's over double what he's ever had. So it is kind of an outlier there. And it's like, well, will this be his norm going forward? Hard to say that. It's hard to count on that. So, all right, Kyle, back over to you, man.
Yeah, so my other bust player this week is going to be James Cook. against Kansas City. And it's purely based on matchup. Kansas City's been really, really tough against the run. I think they're going to have to score some points. I think they're going to have to do it through the air. I mean, you're seeing Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. They're always throwing at each other, trying to prove who's better quarterback, right? So, and I think you see a little bit of that this weekend. I think James Cook is going to struggle.
No, I agree. The matchup is just not great, and I also agree with that's going to be a flexing on each other type of game between those two quarterbacks. So if anyone's going to be doing a lot of rushing, it's probably going to be Josh Allen this week. I think he's going to probably be their leading rusher. So I kind of agree with you there. Alrighty. Who's your last guy?
So my last guy is a boom. And actually, as a PSA, I'm going to pull a Tony. Play all your Texans this week. But specifically, I'm calling Tank Dell my boom off of the Texans against Dallas on Monday night. I mean, it don't matter if Nico's back or it doesn't matter. Dell's going to go ham against Dallas's secondary, and I want every bit of that. But yeah, as a bonus boom, Mixon, get him in there. If Nico is back, get him in there. Play Mechie if you got him. But Dell's the guy I think is going to go. He's going to have a real big game.
The only thing I don't like about this pick is that all this is about to happen on Monday night to my Dallas Cowboys, and that just kind of breaks my heart in prime time.
Well, and it's funny too because we got Micah Parsons back this week, and we had a pretty good first half.
Yep.
And then it was right back to the same old again the second half, and they just blew us out of the water. So I expect Houston will do the same thing.
Yep, I agree. All right, Tony, let's wrap it up with you. Give me your last bust.
Yeah, my last bust of the week is going to be Drake London with the Atlanta Falcons. He's had some nice games here, but not playing him this week against that Denver Bronco defense. They've been brutal matchup for receivers, and him in particular will be lined up opposite of Patrick Surtain. So, that to me it puts him on my no-go list.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you said Denver, I was like, Surtain, he's done, sort of thing. I mean, it's a horrible matchup for wide receivers. It's almost like the new Revis Island out there. It's just when they're going up against them, just count them out for that game. It's a good rule of thumb. So not much to add to that. Don't count on Drake London to perform very well this week or up to your expectations. All righty, good picks, fellas. That's going to do it for Week 11 Boom Bust Fantasy Football, brought to you by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Good luck to everybody this week.
Good luck. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.